Hello everybody, it's Bloody Jack from the Bloody Jack channel, and with it being the spookiest time of the year, I thought we would take a nice little look into 31 movies in general that you should watch over the holidays. I know we're already nearly halfway into October and I've been doing a lot of personal stuff recently. Quick little summary, this is just 31 movies in general. Yeah, not like a top 31, it's just 31 movies in general that I recommend you guys could watch during the Halloween season. If you like these movies, awesome. If you have other ideas on other movies, let me know in the comments down below. Also, I will not be discussing a whole plot line of it. Just a quick, very brief summary of the movie, and that's it. So without wasting any time, let's get right into it.
Go! Get your shoes, you're going out. Have no time to lose. It's your chance to be. Shout it out. We all make mistakes, no doubt about it. That's the way it goes. So ride your rocket, don't you stop it. Not a puppet, visualize. You're a killer bee, and just so free. That's all I need. This is your path to be. We're all here just for all the fun. Now you're jamming, jamming hard, yeah. Hype it up all once again. Hype it up. Now you're jamming, jamming hard, yeah. Hype it up all once again. Hype it up.
So, kicking off, The Crow, which came out in 1994 and based on the awesome comic book series by James O'Barr. The Crow, as you know, is one of my favourite movies ever made. It's even in my top favourite romantic horror movies of all time list, which you can check out on my channel. So if you want me to talk about stuff in full detail on that, go check that out. Next, we have Hellraiser 1 through 4. I couldn't decide between most of the Hellraiser movies, but I decided to go with the first 4, which spanned from 1987 to 1996. Hellraiser 1, awesome movie. It's about, like, the main series is about people coming across the puzzle box called the Lament Configuration, but whoever solves the puzzle box ends up summoning pinheads and the Cenobites, which combine both pain and pleasure to an extreme rate. And it's an awesome series. Like Hellraiser 2 improved upon other things. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, got me into Motorhead. And Hellraiser 4, although absolutely stupid, it does expand the lore of the Hellraiser series throughout the franchise. Next, Trick or Treat, which came out in 2007. This movie just bleeds Halloween. Like, if you like everything in Halloween, like the colour, the costumes, people getting together and shit, watch Trick or Treat. It's also kind of like a combination of not Tales of the Crypt, but any generic 80s horror movie with a little bit of the style from Creep Show. And also, it's kind of like Pulp Fiction in a way, where it tells multiple stories that all take place during the same time, which that to me is absolutely genius. And it's also written and directed by the same guy that did Krampus years later. Next, we have 28 Days Later, which came out in 2002. This revamped the zombie genre in the 2000s, with the additional thing of these zombies being really fast, really scary, and the whole thing takes place in the UK, with most of the first half of the movie taking place in central London, and then with the later end of the movie taking place in just outside of London in the New Forest. It's an awesome movie, obviously a symbol of its time. I just thought it was alright, but in my personal opinion, Those zombies, I wouldn't class them as zombies because zombies don't run, and also the virus in the movie is just called the rage virus, which basically means people are just really pissed off. So they're not zombies in my opinion. Next, we have Jason X, which came out in 2001. Now, I may get a lot of hatred on liking this movie, but I know how stupid it is. It is one of the it's one of the lower parts of the Friday the 13th franchise, with obviously being a movie consisting of only 12 movies in total. But the movie is basically set in the future, where Jason is on said space station, killing everyone on board, and at one point he just upgrades himself into Uber Jason, which just makes him look immediately like a million times cooler, and the action figure of it does look cool. It may be really stupid, but it's like one of those movies where it's so bad it's good. And from that, I just made my point. Next, we have Rob Zombie's Firefly trilogy, which consists of House of a Thousand Corpses from 2003, The Devil's Rejects from 2007, and Three from Hell from 2019. Say what you want about Rob Zombie, you either love him or you hate him. I'm a fan of Rob Zombie. I've watched most of his movies, because the only one I haven't seen yet is Lords of Salem. It's the only one I haven't seen yet, because I haven't properly got around to doing it. I loved his music, and I still love his music even to this day. I like his comic books as well. Like, the whole Firefly trilogy is just awesome. Like, House of a Thousand Corpses is awesome. Devil's Rejects, even better. Three from Hell takes a little bit of a step down because it was the last film starring Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding before he tragically passed away last year. And although he's only in the movie for a whole 1 minute of footage, it makes up for it. They do what they can. Next, any of the classic Universal monster movies. I'm very biased with these things, whether it be Dracula, Frankenstein, The Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, and Creature from the Black Lagoon. It doesn't matter either one you watch, they're all classics in my opinion, and they're all perfect. Next, the It miniseries from 1990. Say what you want about the theatrical version of It. I thought Chapter 1 was meh. Chapter 2, although had a shitload of problems, I kind of enjoyed myself, but I know that the movie is extremely flawed, mostly with the fact that it doesn't follow the entirety of the book. Whereas the 1990 It is more in-depth, despite the whole thing having a whole runtime of about 3 hours, well, almost exactly 3 hours. And the fact that I think, in my honest opinion, Tim Curry is way better than Bill Skarsgård. Next, Night of the Living Dead. Whether it be, it doesn't matter which version you watch, whether it be the original black and white 1968 version by George A. Romero, or the 1990 remake written and directed by Tom Savini. Both versions are really good. Like, I cannot stress it enough. If you want to see a really good review of it, or someone that appreciates George A. Romero's work like I do, go watch the Boots to Reboots review on the Night of the Living Dead remake. It's good, check that out whenever you can. Next we have George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead from 1978. Again, another classic, everyone knows it if you're a huge horror fan like myself. The remake is meh. I mean, yeah, it was the directorial debut of Zack Snyder, who was known for 300, and also botching a majority of the DC Expanded Universe. Next, the original Day of the Dead. I have not seen any of the remakes, not even the most recent one, Day of the Dead Bloodline, although it is on Netflix. I just like the original Day of the Dead. You will have to watch it a few times to actually get what it's about. But that's all I can say about Day of the Dead, other than it's just awesome. Next, Blade 2, which came out in 2002. Arguably one of my all-time favourite Marvel movies. Like, in general, like anything outside of the MCU. the Blade trilogy is one of my all-time favourite films of all time. But Blade 2 is more of my favourite in the franchise. It's more serious, it's darker, it's directed by Guillermo del Toro, who's known for Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, and Hellboy. Well, the first two Hellboys, anyway. Blade 2 is the high point of early Marvel movies before the MCU. Next, John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. I was gonna put The Thing from Another World on here, but then I thought John Carpenter's is more accurate to the short story Who Goes There? And every horror and sci-fi fan has seen John Carpenter's remake of The Thing. Most people, like most moviegoers, know it. But what are my opinions on the 2011 prequel, also titled The Thing? It's okay. Like, that's all I can say. Even The Thing video game on the PS2 made it to my top 100 favourite video games of all time because of how much I like the movie and, excuse me, The Thing itself. Next, The Return of the Living Dead from 1985. A spin-off slash kind of sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Dan O'Bannon, who wrote one of the shorts for Heavy Metal, who's also wrote the script for the original Alien, made Return of the Living Dead, which is kind of works a little bit on the logic of Night of the Living Dead, but cranks that shit up to 11. It's gory as hell, it's hilarious, awesome soundtrack, awesome effects. It's just, like, if you're into the whole mid-80s punk rock kind of style, definitely check out Night of the Living Dead. Not Night of the Return of the Living Dead. Next, it's a mixture of two movies. The Evil Dead trilogy from 1981 all the way to 1992, or 91, depending on what country it was released in, which consists of Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn, and Army of Darkness. I love the whole trilogy. I even loved the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show. I have all 3 seasons on DVD, and I recently rewatched seasons 1 and 2 on Netflix, and also the Evil Dead remake, which was surprisingly really good, which came out in 2013. Evil Dead is one of my all-time favorite horror trilogies ever. Like, out of all the mainstream stuff, I think Evil Dead is one of the few things that's more closer to me personally. I have no idea why. Next, The Lost Boys, which came out in 1987, and obviously we lost the director of this movie, Joel Schumacher, earlier this year as well, who was also well known for directing movies like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. But The Lost Boys is arguably one of his best works ever to date. It's a classic 80s movie, it's a classic vampire movie in general. It's been expanded so much through mostly the 2 sequels that came out, The Tribe and The Thirst, and also with the current going comic books, which are being made right now by Virgo Comics. Next, The Omen. The original Omen, not the 2006 remake. This is the 1976 original, which is flawless. It's one of the greatest satanic movies ever made in 70s cinema, outside of another obvious one which will be further down this list. The whole story is about this little boy called Damien, who is the son of the devil. I watched this at an early age and it did scare the living shit out of me, which will be onto another video. But yeah, I think very highly of The Omen. The sequels, like Omen 2 and 3, are pretty good, although they do take a step down slightly with each one, but it's not really that bad. And The Omen 4 I have not seen. I don't know if it's any good. If anyone has seen it, let me know in the comments down below. Next, Alien from 1979. Arguably one of the earlier horror movies I ever seen. I know it's more of a sci-fi movie now, but I would still class the first Alien, like Alien 1, Alien 3, I would class those two in particular as horror movies. Everything else is like Aliens and Alien Resurrection, action movie. Alien Covenant, I really couldn't care less about. Prometheus is its own thing, in my opinion. But yeah, I chose Alien specifically because I love it. I just love the whole thing. It's a haunted house movie, but in space. It's claustrophobic, it's dark, it's brutal. If you want the best version to watch, I recommend you guys look at the director's cut of Alien. It's only about another between 5 to 15 minutes, I think. But I think that is the superior version of the movie you should actually watch. Next, 13 Ghosts, the remake, or as other people in the horror community know as 13 Ghosts. I know it's an awful joke, but it's the way the movie's written on the poster and on the DVD, and even in the fucking title of the movie it's known as 13 Ghosts, but it's written 13 Ghosts. But yeah, I'm talking about the 2001 remake. I may get anyone from the horror community, they can hate on me as much as they want. This is a guilty pleasure movie, in my opinion. I like this movie because of how stupid it all is. I know it's not the best movie or the best remake at all, but there's a few things I do like about it. The design of the ghosts, Matthew Lillard, who's the best character in the whole movie, and I think that's it. Well, actually, if you get the DVD and you go onto the special features, they do give a brief backstory on each ghost, and I think that's what makes the movie better, in my opinion. Next, Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, which came out in 1999. This is the perfect movie to kick off October for me, honestly. I watch it every year, it's awesome. Johnny Depp's great in it. This is one of the earlier Tim Burton movies, so no Helena Bonham Carter. It's got Christopher Lloyd in it, the guy that plays Uncle Vernon from Harry Potter in it as well, and Christopher Walken, and also the dad from Beetlejuice as well. But yeah, I like Sleepy Hollow. It's a great way to kick off October. If you haven't watched it yet this year, definitely check out Sleepy Hollow. Next, Deathgasm, which came out in 2015. If you've watched one of my earlier videos, you know that this is one of my favourite horror movies ever. It's a combination of a few things that I love. It's got a kind of a Scott Pilgrim style to it. It's also kind of like Evil Dead with an awesome, brutal death metal soundtrack, which kind of makes me feel like I want to play a game like Splatterhouse or Brutal Legend. It's just so good. If you love New Zealand horror movies, so anything from Braindead / Dead Alive, Peter Jackson's earlier works, or something like Black Sheep or whatever, definitely check out Deathgasm. Next, another New Zealand movie, Braindead / Dead Alive. It's only called Dead Alive, I think, if you live in the United States. I may be wrong, but yeah, Dead Alive or Braindead. It's a classic horror movie of horror comedies, and also one of Peter Jackson's best movies. Before the Hobbit trilogy, before Mortal Engines, before the King Kong remake, and before the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Braindead / Dead Alive is an awesome movie. It has great moments. I do not want to spoil it at all. It is just a pure, great, gory mess. Next, Godzilla Final Wars, which came out in 2004. I had to put a Godzilla movie on this list somewhere, but I put Final Wars on this list because, in my complete honest opinion, it is my favourite Godzilla movie. Out of all 30 plus movies of Godzilla that exist, Final Wars is my favourite. I cannot stress it enough. I do not want to go into detail about it too much, but it is, I'm just putting it out there, Final Wars is my favourite Godzilla movie. Next, The Monster Squad, which came out in 1987. Now, earlier in this list, I mentioned the Universal monster movies, like all the classic stuff. Monster Squad is basically the Goonies have to fight the classic Universal monsters, which is alright. It's an alright idea. Like, nothing bad in that movie, despite, there's a few things in there that are questionable to some moviegoers, but I think the movie's a lot of fun to watch, and it's definitely something to watch during the Halloween season. Next, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original from 1974 by Tobe Hooper. Everyone's seen it, everyone knows of it, everyone knows that it was banned in several countries because of how violent it was. But yeah, the movie is it's a great gore fest. It is a great movie. It's one of the best movies of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. To be fair, the whole franchise is kind of a mixed bag when you go further down into the series. Next, another controversial opinion on this one. Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, and Bordello of Blood. I know there's 3 Tales of the Crypt movies, but I've only seen Demon Knight and Bordello of Blood. As someone that's only seen a few episodes of Tales of the Crypt, I liked it. But the movies, I saw them both on... I saw Bordello of Blood on Netflix recently, and I watched Demon Knight a long time ago, but I watched it fairly recently on my phone. I loved it. I love every second of both movies. They're... Demon Knight, it's somewhat underrated. If you've seen any episode of Tales of the Crypt, you know what you're in for. Bordello of Blood, I know most people don't like Bordello of Blood, but I think it's actually okay. I enjoyed myself watching it, and that's the whole thing with watching a horror movie. You got to find a way to enjoy yourself with the movie, whether it be just enjoying how great it is, or just because how you just like to rip into the movie at all. Next, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. If you're a horror fan, like anyone else who watches my videos, you probably know or have seen any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. If you haven't, click off this video and start watching. But yeah, I picked Nightmare on Elm Street 3 because I was going to put Wes Craven's New Nightmare on this list, but I stuck with The Dream Warriors because I think it's better in my opinion, and it's also arguably, according to most fans of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, it's the best one in the series. And that's all I can say. Next, An American Werewolf in London from 1981. Again, a classic movie. Great actors in it. I can't really say anything about the soundtrack because I don't really know that much about the soundtrack anyway, because I can't remember most of it. It's one of my favourite werewolf movies outside of The Howling and Underworld and stuff. Stuff in that kind of area, along with the Dog Soldiers or anything. It's just a great werewolf movie in general. It has great special effects by Tom Baker, because that infamous transformation scene is still good even to this day. Nearly 40 years late, 39 years later, that movie is still great. And also, if it wasn't for An American Werewolf in London, we wouldn't have had the Thriller music video. Next, The Exorcist from 1973. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. So, yeah. Every hardcore movie fan has seen The Exorcist. They know what it's about. Yeah. Little girl Reagan fucks around with a Ouija board and she becomes possessed by the demon lord. Or just the demon Pazuzu. But how I learned about this movie, I mostly learned about it through some friends that have seen it, and also through Gorillaz. By watching a lot of Gorillaz music videos and finding out that there's a lot of Easter eggs in their music videos. Even still to this day, there's a few Exorcist references in their music videos. If you want to know, I would say watch the director's cut of The Exorcist. I watched that fairly recently because I've never seen the director's cut before in my whole life. But I also think the director's cut is also called the version you've never seen, which is also another great way of calling it, but it's just the director's cut. Watch the director's cut of The Exorcist. It's like nearly 2.25 hours long, but it definitely makes up for it with the slow building. Next, Freddy vs. Jason. Most people have a love-hate relationship with this movie, but if it wasn't for this movie, I wouldn't have gotten into watching the Friday the 13th movies or the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. So this was my gateway into some of the older mainstream horror movies of the 80s. But when Freddy and Jason actually fight, it's pretty cool. Kind of like why Alien vs. Predator, in my opinion, it's because when Alien and the Predator are actually fighting, shit gets real, big time. And finally on this list, John Carpenter's Halloween. I wanted to put the original Halloween, like I am now, along with like Halloween 2018, but that could be on a video all on its own. John Carpenter's Halloween is a full-blown classic. Everyone watches it every year on Halloween. It's one of the most infamous horror movies ever made, and I think, other than like Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this one defined the slasher genre in horror movies. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend you check it out for yourself. So, that was my top 31 horror movies I recommend to you guys to watch during the Halloween season. I hope you liked it. Let me know what your opinions are on these movies. And also, tell me what your favourite movies to watch during the Halloween season as well. Make up your own list. Put it down in the comments below if you want. I ain't gonna judge. Like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share on your social media. Follow me on my social medias, which will be down in the link in the description down below. You can follow me on my Facebook page, on my Twitter page, on Instagram, Tumblr, and so on. I've been Bloody Jack, and I wish you all a happy Halloween.